What is up, everyone? I'm Skratch. Welcome to the channel. This is another King Arthur Legends Rise video. Hope you guys are having an amazing Saturday, an amazing weekend. Let me know in the comments down below. How is your weekend going, guys? Anything planned for today, for tomorrow? Maybe going out, seeing some friends, family, etc. Or I know this might catch you a bit off guard because it's pretty off topic. If you guys have any good movies or series that you can recommend me that you've watched recently, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm looking for something to watch later today with the family, and I haven't found anything good, and that's mainly because I watched most of the things. But I digress. Let's dive into the main topic. Today, guys, I want to talk about BAUDWIN. BAUDWIN. I'm a butcher. BAUDWIN. I digress. Today, guys, I want to talk about BAUDWIN. BAUDWIN. I know I will butcher the name because I'm an expert at it. I want to talk about the Master of the Apocalypse. I want to talk about stage 10-7 in campaign. Basically to give you guys a couple of different options on how you can defeat the boss by reducing the RNG if you don't have Guinevere, right? BAUDWIN right here is actually a pretty solid option as well. It's not as good as Guinevere, of course, but he will get the job done. I know a lot of you guys have recently asked about guides on the boss there, so that's exactly what I'm going to do today, guys. I'm going to show you a team with only rare heroes that you can use in campaign on hard mode, 10-7, 3-star it, or get close to 3-star it if you're playing around with it, or at least unlock the next difficulty. We're gonna go on stage 10 on the Master of the Apocalypse, guys, and we're gonna smash that boss. We're gonna use Morgana as a legendary and 3 rares, but we're gonna get to it in a second. What makes BAUDWIN so special? 50% chance to trigger when inflicted with abnormal status, removes 1 abnormal status from all allies, grants all allies defense increase 3 for 1 turn. Now, when you guys go in that dungeon or versus that boss, you know that is going to devour 3 of your heroes if you don't have Guinevere or BAUDWIN in the team. So if you're left with the support, you're going to have to back out, retry, back out, retry, back out, retry till everything is perfect. It's frustrating. There's a lot of RNG. So when you are bringing in an abnormal status control, basically you're going to dodge that. You're not going to lose 2, 3 heroes. And it will still be RNG on what type of hero will get devoured by the boss, but it won't be as painful. Then with the other passive, at the start of the battle, grants a shield of max HP to 2 random allies and grants abnormal status immunity to a random ally for 1 turn. So basically what it means, one of them will 100% not get devoured. Then it's all about the passive to proc, basically to make sure that you're not going to lose 2 heroes instead of 1. But I'm going to show you. In terms of relics, to be honest, each one of them will work pretty good. I'm not really using much his A3 skill or his A2 for what matters. You have a chance to inflict attack decrease too, which is definitely helpful to reduce the damage. And honestly, whatever relic you have leveled up is going to get the job done. This one will remove dot damage from 2 allies, which is honestly better than putting the attack decrease. This will remove dot x2 from self rather than actually it's from self, not from 2 allies, my bad. So he can remove dot from himself, not 2 allies. I don't know what I've seen allies in there. Gotta put my glasses on. So that's why, to be honest, decrease attack is actually better because he's not 2 allies, it's just himself. Now I will show you the builds in just a second. First we're gonna head over to campaign. Then we're going to head over to Master of the Apocalypse. So we're going to do this on stage 10-7 hard mode, guys. And yes, I'm talking about Crom Cruach, right? This is the boss right here. Basically, this can be one of the teams that you can run. I haven't actually tried it with only 1 support, but I see no reason why we shouldn't be able to do it. So if you have 2 damage dealers, you know the drill. The very first hero you should take to maximum when you start playing should be a damage dealer because it will absolutely boost your progression. So my very first 60 was Sky. Then it really depends where you are in game. If you're already on a 10-7 hard mode, you're going to have multiple 6 stars by now. But either way, bringing in a couple of damage dealers is going to be better. So we're going to use Sarah. You can use Turin without a problem. BAUDWIN, and we're gonna use Rosier and Kai, and that's because my Corma is not maxed just yet, so I can't really use him. So let's crack on it. We're not going to prioritize the boss. I'm actually gonna let him go crazy, but I will give them a bit of a preset. The reason why it's more helpful to have 2 damage dealers in here is because we're not gonna have defense down or anything like that, right? So it will be really helpful if we can take the boss down fast. You see, we lost the damage dealer, but if we're not bringing BAUDWIN in here, we're actually going to have a different situation. Let me just quickly show you actually before we do the run. Just in case if you haven't realized what's happening with this boss, if you haven't understood the mechanic just yet. So we're going to take him out, and I'm going to bring in, I don't know, let's bring in another damage dealer. So check it out. This time around, I lost 3 heroes instead of 1, okay? So if you bring in Guinevere, for example, the legendary hero, I already made a guide on her and kind of like showed you how powerful she is versus this boss, being the best champion for this boss in the game. So she's another option, but I do want to talk about BAUDWIN in today's video. So if you bring her in, it's going to work wonders. But if you don't have her, and I know a lot of you guys don't have her, and he is a very solid option, you will have to level him up anyway, because he's a pretty useful hero for the adventures, and he's usually on the raid on the raids, right? So you will require him in there. So if we're gonna start the fight once again, we lost 1 damage dealer instead of losing 3 heroes. So we reduced the RNG by a lot. And this might not be super important when you're doing the campaign because you do it once and you forget about it. But then you gotta head into the monster of the apocalypse. And it does feel like he brings the apocalypse if you're not bringing in the right hero to keep all of your heroes around and only get 1 devoured, okay? So that definitely feels like that. Now, Rosier deals a pretty good chunk of damage. What I do like versus this boss is that we don't necessarily need to focus on a specific element, right? It doesn't matter if for ice, fire, storm, we're still going to basically do good damage versus the boss. We don't have weaknesses or strengths versus his affinity, right? Which is really, really helpful. Now, as I mentioned, if you don't have Sarah, you can run a Turin. Maybe an Isolde could keep your team alive as well. If you're struggling, if your team dies. So that's basically the first strat that I've used when I've beat the campaign on 10-7 on normal mode myself. I used 2 support heroes because I was always losing heroes. The boss was killing them. So I decided to switch to 2 healers, and that helped me out a lot. And maybe it will help you guys as well, especially if you are being stuck on this boss in campaign, right? When we're farming the Master of the Apocalypse, it is a bit slowish in terms of how fast we can take the boss down, right? Because if we're not using Bedivere, if we're not using the most OP heroes in the game, it is taking a bit longer. My team actually in there is with Guinevere, Rosier, Bedivere, and Morgana, if I remember it correctly. So that actually works amazing. It does farm the dungeon pretty fast. Or actually, no, I'm not using Rosier. I'm using Gillian and the other 3. Bedivere, just full legendaries, basically. So the dot damage works on this second form of the boss. So that will deal some additional damage with Rosier. I will share the builds at the end with you guys. Yes, my damage dealers, they do have pretty decent builds, to be honest. Not super OP, because the best gear that I have at the moment is on Tristan and on Bedivere. But pretty decent gear. Definitely not something that you're going to have in the first few weeks when you start playing, in the first couple of weeks, right? Because you do need to farm a bit of a dungeon, of the dungeons to be able to basically forge some of the gear after. Because, to be honest, some of the better gear that I have comes from the forge. I don't know, the bosses are so stingy in the dungeons. I'm just not getting a lot of good gear from it. So battle stats, look at the damage. Rosier put in some big numbers. That's of course because of a lot of multi-hits. Her passive, it does bring in a lot of extra damage. Kai did pretty well as well. Then, if we are going to move on to the Master of the Apocalypse. I was gonna say the Monster of the Apocalypse. So this is the team that we are running, guys. We have Turin, BAUDWIN, we have Rosier and Morgana. Not a pay-to-win team, not the most free-to-play team either, because, hey, not all of the champions are free. But to be honest with you guys, if you've been playing for a couple of months and you're trying to basically push this content, most likely you have all of the rares in the game by now. So this is one of the best outcomes, where Morgana and the damage dealer is left out, because Morgana will apply the defense down, and then your damage dealer can go in and just absolutely smack the boss. And that's really, really helpful. This is dangerous when that hit goes on one character. This time around, it did not do so much damage, but sometimes it can literally wipe your unit, and you can't do much about it. You're gonna have to retry it, basically. Now, BAUDWIN's passive is not as good as Guinevere, of course, and sometimes you can lose 2 characters in a go, as I mentioned before, most likely, right? Look at that. Defense down, your damage dealer goes in and smacks the boss. I really think that Rosier is the best option for this in terms of rare units, because she's not bringing in AoE damage. You want to have a lot of powerful single target damage. Now, we do have dot immunity at the moment, but that will change once we are going to get on the next phase. My god, that hit from the boss absolutely wrecked my BAUDWIN. He doesn't have insane gear, so he's not super tanky, but that was just scary. My god. Drop that attack gauge, Morgana. What are you doing? And Rosier, smack this boss. Put him to sleep because he's being naughty. He's doing too much damage in here. So the more often that passive procs on Rosier as well, the better, guys. Okay, back to full HP. I'm feeling a bit safer right now. Defense down, and Rosier will put this boss to sleep right now. Send it to the moon. Send it back in the cave. Second phase. Now here, we're going to be able to do dot damage, guys, which is actually going to add up quite a bit. You might be surprised. If we stack 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bleeds, it will drop a good chunk of the HP, even like 20%, you know? So let's apply that defense down slowly. Let's get some more healing up and running. Okay, the boss does hit pretty hard, so I'm hoping that he's not going to absolutely wreck my budgetish team right here, because I'm gonna get disappointed. The AI is a bit weird as well with Rosier on this boss. I'm not sure why, but it has been happening since the start. Sometimes it attacks the body parts, sometimes it attacks directly the boss. Look at that hit. My goodness. My goodness. Stop hitting me, because I feel like I want to cry. That's a lot of damage. Okay, drop the gauge. You see, like right now, it went straight for the boss instead of taking the body part down, which is weak, and then proc the strife set, gain an extra turn, gain all of the buffs, and go ham, you know? Thankfully, Turin is top tier. You see, we have quite a lot of bleed right there. Let's see. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 on the boss. Okay. Let's see how much. You see, that's a good chunk of HPs. It got close to like 10% drop on the HP, which is really, really good, actually. Okay, come on. Take the boss under the 50%, so we're actually going to the next phase. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So that's what you can do, guys, with BAUDWIN in the team. Of course, he's not really going to bring you tons of utility, at least not in the way I'm using him, because he's only using the basic skill. I'm not really allowing him to use the second or the third skill, which can be helpful. Both of them can be very helpful to soak in damage, to put a decreased attack, the increased defense, right? To share that damage rather than soak the damage. And like this, I have my Rosier, which is able to pump in more damage with the A3 skill, because she's able to use it more often, right? So that's basically the whole idea behind it. Okay, come on, Rosier. Look at that, beautiful. Dot damage. Get some healing. Morgana, I am counting on you. That attack gauge down. Passive. Ah, close. And when the boss is about to take a turn, he's gonna get smacked. It's not fast, as I mentioned. I have no idea how many minutes it took me, but the job is done. Stage 10, 13 minutes. There you go. Of course, on 3x. So we haven't actually spent 13 minutes in here. But it's actually pretty solid. Pretty budgetish as well, I would say, to be honest. Now, of course, I do have high chivalry on most of my rares. I've been playing since the early release. I've collected a lot of rares, so I've invested it in the chivalry rather than feeding them. But I will show you the equipment. Most likely with lower chivalry, you're going to struggle on stage 10. So that's something to keep in mind. This is the build that we have. Vigor and health on Turin. These are the stats, as you guys can probably notice on the screen. Let me make sure that my head is not in front of it. Then the next one is going to be BAUDWIN. A pretty weak-ass build, I would say. A health set. And you see his stats are really bad. Just a bit of speed in there, and that's about it. Then we have Rosier. Rosier is fully maxed. Okay, skills, relic, if I'm not mistaken, pretty much everything is fully maxed on her. And these are her total stats, as you guys can probably notice right here. And we have the final hero, which was Morgana. Pretty decentish build, a vigor set, a crit. These are the total stats on her. Not max chivalry or anything like that, but the relic is not maxed just yet, the fire one, but the passives are maxed on her. That was all for the video. Hopefully you found it helpful. As usual, appreciate all of you guys watching. Massive shout out to all of you guys that are supporting the channel through the supporter creator program, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.